Hi folks. Someone recently used an argument for Christianity that I haven't really heard. I've heard it before, but I haven't heard it very often, and I haven't heard it put this succinctly. This was from a doctor, and the doctor says, "I've never seen an atheist in intensive care." And that was his argument for Christianity. Now think about what he means by this. Imagine you had a car accident, the ambulance comes, wheels you into intensive care, the blood is pissing out of you, you're awake, but you're critical, you might die, the chips are down, your back is against the wall, although you're an atheist and you don't believe in God. In that psychological state, who can say what they would do? You might cling to anything that might give you some sense that you're going to make it out of this. You know, Lord, if you're there, please get me out of this and I'll never forget it. I'll follow you for the rest of my life. This kind of thing. So the argument from the Christian perspective is that when your back is against the wall, your atheism fails. When you put it like that, it sounds almost like a good argument. But you could put it another way. You could say that it's simply an argument for God from human frailty. That God is real because we need Him to be real. And it doesn't sound so good when you put it that way, does it? It's the argument from human need. And this really shows us that there is a clear divide between two kinds of people. There are those who believe in something because they have certain psychological needs. And there are those who wish to see life as it really is. Now you know I belong to the latter category. I don't believe that there is a divine personality up there that is looking out for me in some way. I think if I go out on my motorbike today, there is the possibility that I could have a terrible accident and be crippled for life or be killed. All of these things can happen. Some people can't face life with that kind of uncertainty, and so they invent a God who's taking care of them moment by moment. Similarly, I don't believe that I have a life after death. At least this ego does not survive death. Some people need to attach more meaning to their little lives, their individualistic lives, than that. So they invent an afterlife. Whereas I simply prefer to look at life as it really is. Now, if I was in that situation in intensive care, I don't think my beliefs would fail me. I don't think I would be calling upon the Lord, Jehovah, Yahweh. I don't know, because I've never been tested like that, so I really don't know. I could be in such a state that I could do anything. But I have an inkling that with the degree of studying that I have done, my beliefs are pretty secure. I don't believe in Christianity at all. I don't see that it's possible. It would literally be like me trying to call upon Santa Claus in that situation. I don't see it. But it's never been tested. So, it's not really a good argument. It's an argument based upon psychological need. And the real, what's the word I'm looking for? The real thing that you have to aspire to is to try and transcend those kinds of needs. And that's basically what it means to be a self-realized person. And you know, there's a flip side to all this for the Christian as well. I have a friend in my life at the moment who's a Christian, who is suffering a lot in his life, for one reason or another. I'm not going to go into any details. But for the past couple of years, he's had to suffer a lot, him and his family. Things could have gone a lot smoother in life, but certain things have happened that have been really hard to deal with. And he has ended up cursing God. He still believes in God, but in his exasperation, he has basically called God an asshole. And the problem here is that when you believe that your life is controlled by God, that God has a plan for your life, when your life gets messy, you have to believe that God is actually orchestrating that messiness and causing all that pain. And if you can't find reason for it all, you end up believing in a divine bully. And of course, we know the story of Job as the ultimate example of this. But I think you really have to put yourself in the shoes of someone who is suffering like that. The placebo of believing that God is looking out for you in your life, it works until it doesn't work. And then it really doesn't work. And you end up cursing God. That happens. Christians, and you've got to face that. Whereas to me it is far more psychologically healthy to be able to say, you know what, my life is just crap at the moment, but I know that it's just because these things happen in the ebb and flow of living. It's not being planned or orchestrated by anyone up there. It just happens. To me that is more healthy, that is more sane. It causes less problems up here. And it also is what genuinely does reflect reality. This is the reality that is screaming out to you from every photograph of every starving African child that you've ever seen, of every story that you've ever heard about a child that was raped or something like that. Life is adversarial, and there are people who are lucky and there are people who are unlucky, and that is a thing that should be faced. So to argue the case for God, based upon the things we try to grasp a hold of in our desperate moments, it's not a very good case for God. And a real simple way of arguing against this is, picture a Muslim in intensive care. Who do you think the Muslim is calling out for? Jehovah? Nope. He's going to be calling out for Allah. So it really doesn't. It may have some bearing on the general idea of our need for a personal God, but it really has nothing whatsoever to say about the validity of Christianity.